And action. Welcome. Another day of the Ranting Rose. This is just a place, just a space to have a conversation. Today I'm thinking about, like I'm always thinking about life, you know. And I guess one of the topics I'm really thinking about today is just like how fast life is. How fast life is, how intense life is. And, if we can really succeed in that sort of environment. On my best days, on the days I feel the most full and happy and least stressed, is days where I'm able to take my time in preferably every single thing that I do. And consider me silly if you need to, but I also find how much time I need to do every simple task that God gives me to do in each day. For instance, uh, maybe I'm getting older, and this is my first video, but it took me a while just to find the application called Photo Booth to take this video. And I've lived a lot of my life, I think, trying to achieve so much. And I think it's important to take care of the heart along the way in observation of this, knowing that that doesn't necessarily mean that I wasn't right or wrong. The intent of that, I think, was good. I have always, from the gratitude of life, desired to do a lot. And so, naturally, with the constraints of time and so many dreams and visions and ideas for what I wanted to do, I found it important to structure nearly every day and every increment of the day in order to place myself in a position that could do all of those things. That's sensical, that's logical. But in the process of doing that, I've really found that at the end of the day, I'm a human being, you know? And I go through many seasons where I impress myself with what I am able to achieve by structuring my life like that. But ultimately and always, when I do so, it tends to result in some sort of burnout, some sort of collapse, some sort of kind of roller coaster again and again. And it forces me to have this moment, to have this season where I have to realize that's the case. Usually outside of my own control, something happens in my life that forces me to realize that, and I have to mourn the loss and reflect and recharge and back again. And it's very cyclical. The achievements change, the time changes where I am in the general timeline of my life, but it really is this pattern. And on the other side of things, when I take my time, I one would think virtually achieve nothing, at least not the end result of anything. And there's something within me as I do it that, although it's very freeing to live that way, it really feels awesome to take 45 minutes to cut a papaya before I eat it, and then take 25 minutes to enjoy it, or even an hour to speak with my wife while I do so, But from the reverse structure, I don't really achieve any end result. And it's like something inside of me is still wrapped up in the idea that I need to achieve. And so it's this frustration builds. And in this moment, I'm coming to realize, and I don't know if it's true, I'm just sharing with you how I feel, that why do I need what do I need to achieve? Why do I need to achieve it? I don't know. I think I spend much more energy in the like need to than even reflecting on that. I think that very very good question. You know, like why do I need to achieve it? Honestly, at the end of the day, who really cares? You know. For instance, I've seen many times where I thought that by achieving it would mean certain things, and only to realize maybe to like anybody but myself it doesn't really matter. The world, keeps moving. It oftentimes doesn't get me to the state I thought it would, and I'm like never endingly on a quest to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. This is really like neurotic behavior. And I also used to look at the term and adjective neurotic like a positive quality, which is pretty interesting at least. And the heart, everything is the heart, you know. Like the keys to the things I think we're all, searching for. It's like joy and happiness and like and being ready to share love and feeling love. All these things, they have to do with the heart. The heart is the one that kind of lets you know when you're there. And it lets me know exceedingly that I'm there when I have the rare opportunity, or sometimes in my life, the consistent opportunity to live that way. Slow and artistic, you know, for whatever that's worth. And it has me rethinking a lot of things, you know. And I still have a lot of dreams, and the dreams too give me joy. But it's almost nicer to be lost in the dream than striving for it for achievement, because I don't know, it just brings a lot of joy. And it's also like a humility to be within a dream, I think, to not have to have the the place where you're supposed to get at the end of it all. And there's also all these thoughts and how they converge and correlate with, my chosen faith, that I'm not in control. That's it's really kind of the truth. Even if I weren't religious, I think that like with enough careful reflection, it's true. Like we're not in control. So what can we do? You know, we can do the best we can in any given moment, and much more of that energy. The best we can in any given moment. Much more of that energy, I think, is really designed more for others than it is for us. You know. For instance, I had a great conversation with, I guess, becoming a friend of mine, Mr. Moses, at work yesterday. And God afforded us a great time together to just talk. And I can't tell you what joy it gave me to sharing that. The joy it gave me to sharing that is something that will last a long time. And it might even sit with me forever. And again, it really beckons the reflection of, what is the most important. And I think I come to understand better as I'm older, why the achievements there, the need for achievement. And I theorize that I really don't know if it's natural. I think that I've learned that behavior over time. And I think it's purposeful. Why I was instructed to do that? Because the system relies upon it. And really, at the end of the day, what I've learned, I think what I'm learning is, the achievement is desired only to extract from. It's not really desired to like applaud or embrace or commemorate. It's just, it extracts from it immediately. And we should be like, the normalized idea is that we should be comfortable with the knowledge or the awareness that it should be extracted upon. That's actually the very reason for the achievement in the first place, and so it's expected. It's just not a way, I don't think, of living. And then we can ask more questions like what is living, and these are all like side conversations that could last a long time. But I think all of us are trying to get somewhere, and those places may be very different as far as where we see them to be, and where we dream and vision them to be. But at the end of the day, I think it's kind of similar for a lot of us, for all of us, potentially. Like, I think we want time and space and peace and love. And we also, I think, each have something within us, God given, that wants to be a part of creating something. And I hope that a majority of us desire for that to be meaningful, for, like, not just ourselves, for the world. And again, I think right then and there in that thought, also the indoctrination gets to seed itself and showcase us to what extent that sort of movement would be credible, and it tends to like inflate the ego to make it larger in scale than I think it needs to be. For instance, that conversation with Mr. Moses was a conversation. At the end of the day, it was a conversation. There was no pressure applied. It was an openness between two human beings, and I can't really summarize here how much was gained on both sides, and potentially how much was gained by the world for both sides gaining it. So really what I'm talking about at the end of the day, I think, is an entirely different organization of the way we live our lives. And it's important to realize really the difficulty I think we would encounter if we truly desire to do it. I don't think that it has to be like a vicious rebellion from the past or from our present to create this ultra new paradigm. But I do think it really involves a lot of reflection in unity, and that really, at the end of the day, at its core nature, is what I want the Ranting Rose to be, what I've always dreamed it could be. That as I have conversations like that with Mr. Moses, that always seem that they could be stopped in an instant, within the constraints of a workplace, or especially in a workplace, or in many public venues of meeting in that way. That they need to be done in more of an open platform, such that they can be revisited and built upon indefinitely and always. They're always open, And obviously the system, whether it's a school or a workplace or any other real place that we would congregate in society within the law, right? It wouldn't really allow for it because it's not desirable, it's not beneficial to those systems at all. It doesn't do anything for them. It's much more important that we retain focus on, in the relationship of school, getting to where we're supposed to get, or in the relationship towards work to do the task that we've been hired to do, or even in the relationship of us to society to build the framework of a law system that works better and appears to be in our best interest. I think we as human beings can do so much more than that. And I think it requires a lot of reflection and connection with one another to figure out, what do we do from here? And that's a longer story, and maybe even beyond our own lifespan here. But I think it starts with this. It starts with a moment of pause, reflection, connection to others, and first seeing if we share, these similar thought patterns, experiences, observances, awarenesses of what is happening and what we are within, and who we are within it all. And for me, and just like at an experiential level, I think one of the greatest joys of my life has been being able to cultivate this sort of conversation with many, many. I tell my wife, at this point, being 36, it has to have been thousands in the most conservative, but potentially, you gotta imagine how many people you've had the opportunity to connect with in life, hopefully, and it's had to have been tens of thousands of people that I've been quite surprised in the best way to realize share similar, not only dreams and visions, but also experiences and ways we interpret what's going around us, what's going on around us, and all of that. I think we would be very surprised to realize how similar we all are. And I think there's a serious power to that. And I think someone really, really, really doesn't want us to understand that. I think that's super true. And I think that distractions are many, and I think they're increasing always. And so it really becomes like a very tricky situation for all of us every day. And a lot of us are just not. I think we're all subconsciously aware, but we're not allowed the time or the ability, the opportunity to be consciously aware of how hard it is. You know. But I think about more so than myself. I love children. I think that they represent such a. They're like the most important thing. They represent such a beauty of this life. And one thing that I would say has been one of the most important factors of the success I feel I've retained in life is that I've retained my childlike state. I think that is in fact the essence that has given me the energy to do that which I've mentioned in my connections with tens of thousands of people and the results that came from them, right? So there's a lot to be talked about here. There's a lot that is being talked about here. And it's all really cool and interesting things. And I don't know about you, I do scroll and I see a lot of content that is interesting, but it always, not always, sorry, I need to stop generalizing it. Not always, but many times, it lacks depth, or when it's revisited, it's a little wonky, it's a little too directed towards some sort of marketable ideal. Sorry for um, but so that's it. The topic of today is really time. Yeah, I feel like really over decades I've been trying to find a way to maneuver around time, and I fear, I don't fear, but I guess fear is a good word. I fear that without time we're in trouble, and with time we have a lot on our side. So, I invite us all today to reflect on that and to contribute to what you think about that and to share um, if that thought process is in your mind on the right track. If it is, I think we should explore it further. I think we should use this amazing technology that we've been gifted to explore it together and figure out what are ways that we can find more time. The conclusions I've come to is it does take a great level of sacrifice in prioritizing certain things, and most definitely there is an apparatus, like probably complex in nature, but like the first thing I can think of, there's an apparatus financially that would allow us more so to have it. And And yeah, just to try to cultivate a life, right, for all of us, every single one of us, like regardless of like nation or creed or religion. It's becoming so tiring with the divisions. Like we at the end of the day are children, all coming from the same place. And so I just pray, I really pray, I pray for a day that we can realize that, and act upon understanding it, not for achievement, but just to stride in a better way, a way, again, going back to the start of this conversation, strive in a way that the heart in each one of us inherently understands it's meaningful and fulfilling, you know, because God is so good. It's incredible to me how good God is, and how he places in us this unspeakable, um, especially in language form, it becomes so difficult. This unspeakable way of knowing when we are, more so living with him, you living for him and driving towards him, and aiming to be kept by him. It's this kind of peaceful state that comes over you in a range of ways that makes you know, you know. And if you've felt that, if you feel that, a part of what comes from it is this real desire to share it. And so, again, that's what this is. This is for nothing. I desire nothing out of this, but yet feel it can really, really provide something. And so it's important to do. This is a project where it's just important to do. I will continue to do it in my life, on the streets, but again, God has afforded us an incredible opportunity with this time and this technology to also plaster it in a place where it exists in a space that is perhaps more infinite, or feels can be related to in a way that's more infinite than our timeline in our life. And we have to be faced with the fact that none of us know, when it ends. And so if we're given now, the question is with what we do with it, And I want to, for myself in a way, but also in my advocacy to him for what I desire to show, that I hear and I'm grateful, and that I'm walking. I'm attempting to walk with him. So, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that in my best times I can't help it. My entire life is wrapped around the contemplation of how good God is, and then from that contemplation, what I do with it. And so it's a good day to be alive. It's a good day to be alive, and I really pray that it is for all of you today, and most likely several or some or many of the people receiving this may not be having a great day. And within that, I would say it's important to realize that there are moments in time, and they pass. And I think our task in those moments is to do the best we can. Like, really, that is always the task. But in a moment of that, to to try to evaluate what you think you have lost from the hardship and how it compares to what could have been lost in the hardship, regardless of that loss, what you have through that hardship, and asking God to help, asking God to help, clear the clouds to see the light again. So yeah, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with you all. And yeah, in closing, I guess just a prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, first off, I thank you for this day. In some ways, I can't believe I'm alive again, and I'm so grateful for my wife and the love that you've allowed us to share, for all the experiences and adventures, the situations that I've been able to see and feel. It's so incredible, and so I'm super grateful. I'm grateful for the way in which I can see the past, um, which is more positive, um, and especially the hard things that have happened in life. I'm grateful that you have given me enough time in this world to get to a place that I can understand those things better positively. Understand those things better, yeah, more positively. And I'm also grateful for the foundational things that are important to say, like food and shelter and a loving family, and just have a lot, feel very, very rich in all the right things, and just want to give you gratitude for that. And I pray for the world. I really do pray for the world. I pray for each and every person to find you, find the cloak you provide to the world. And yeah, I pray that we can get outside of ourselves to know you better, because I've been witness to what you can do. It's just so immense. So most specifically, I pray for people in hardship. I very recently can think of an example of how I know what that feels like, and I pray that you can be with them to help them through it. So with that, I leave you. I'm a guy. If you give me time, I'd be happy to just keep talking to you. But we're always wrestling with time. Till the next time, I am the Ranting Rose, and it's been a joy.